Thank you so much for all the love on the first part of the Someone's Outside Horror Stories video. Because of your amazing support, here's Volume 2. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder, if you enjoy my content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, let's get started. It was around 12:30 in the morning when I first noticed the car. I wasn't asleep yet. I was home alone for the weekend. My parents were visiting my aunt in Connecticut, and I stayed behind to study and have the house to myself. We live in a quiet, tucked-away suburban neighborhood. Nothing ever really happens on our street. It's lined with identical two-story homes, porch lights glowing yellow, trees casting shadows on neatly trimmed lawns. At that hour, the whole block should have been silent. My neighbors on both sides were also out of town. The family to the right had left earlier in the afternoon for a camping trip in Pennsylvania. The couple on the left were away visiting their daughter in Chicago. I remembered seeing their porch lights off earlier in the night, and both driveways were empty. There wasn't a single other house on the block with a car in front of it. I had just finished brushing my teeth and was walking down the dark upstairs hallway when I passed the front bedroom window. The blinds were closed, but I caught a faint light through the slats. It wasn't bright, just a soft, steady glow, and I paused. I leaned closer and peeked through the blinds. Parked directly in front of our house was a car. It wasn't running, it wasn't pulling up. It had clearly been there a while. The only light was the faint white glow of its daytime LED strips, the kind that stay on even when the engine is off. I didn't recognize the car. It was some dark-colored sedan, windows slightly tinted. It wasn't in front of a driveway, just sitting along the curb, directly in front of our house. Our street doesn't get through traffic. If you're here for someone. I stepped back from the window and turned off the hallway light so I could see better without being seen. Then I crept closer again, ducking low beneath the bottom of the window frame. The blinds were still closed, but I lifted one gently with 2 fingers. The man in the driver's seat was staring straight ahead, not at the house, just forward. I couldn't see his face clearly, not in detail, but I could make out the outline of his head. Short hair, eyes pointed straight toward the front of the car. His hands weren't on the wheel. He wasn't moving, just sitting there like he had been frozen that way. I stayed crouched. My knees started to hurt, but I didn't move. Something about the way he wasn't doing anything felt worse than if he had gotten out. Then I saw a faint flicker, the light of a phone screen lighting up the inside of the car for a few seconds. He was using his phone. That's when I moved. I backed away from the window slowly, staying low. I turned and walked down the hall, ducking past each window like I was sneaking around in a movie. When I reached the top of the stairs, I double-checked that the front door was locked. Then I checked the back, then the garage. Every door, every window is locked, curtains drawn, blinds shut. I made sure of it. I stood in the kitchen, heart beating fast, listening for anything. Footsteps, movement, an engine starting, but nothing. At 12:48, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a call from unknown with no caller ID. I let it ring and I didn't answer. It stopped on its own after the 3rd ring. I walked quietly back up to the front bedroom and crawled onto the carpet. I stayed low, crawled to the window again, and peeked through the blinds. He was still there, but this time he was looking up, at the house. His face was partially lit by the glow of his phone screen again. It wasn't aimed at him. It was tilted downward in his lap, but the light gave enough away. He was staring up, not at the window directly, but toward the 2nd floor, my floor. I dropped the blind. I lay flat on the carpet, the kind of flat where you can feel your heart in your chest. A minute later, my phone rang again. Same no caller ID. I didn't answer. I stayed there on the floor watching the screen, but no message. Nothing. At 1:04, I got another call. This time I answered, but there was no voice. But I could hear something. Not breathing, not static. It was the sound of someone walking. Footsteps on what sounded like gravel or crushed leaves. The steps would stop, then start again, one at a time. I didn't say anything. The line went quiet. Then a single noise came through, a soft clicking sound, like someone pressing a button on a car key fob. Then the line went dead. I stayed on the floor for a while after that. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I had to let it out. I crawled over to my desk and opened the drawer slowly and quietly, grabbed the flashlight I kept from summer storms, then my extra phone charger, then my laptop. I started texting my parents, even though I knew they were probably asleep. I told them there was someone parked in front of the house, that I was fine, that the doors were locked. Then the landline rang. We still have one in the kitchen, old school cordless. It hardly ever rings. It rang loud, echoing through the whole house. I jumped to my feet. My phone was still in my hand, and it lit up at the same time. Same from no caller ID. Both phones were ringing. I didn't answer the cell. I walked slowly down the stairs, heart pounding in my ears, to the kitchen phone. I picked it up on the fourth ring, but again, no sound. Just walking again. Slower this time, closer, then silence, then one long inhale, like someone getting ready to speak. Then the line clicked and went dead. I stood there in the kitchen, light off, on the edge of a full panic attack. Then I walked to the front of the house and peeked through the side of the curtain. The car was still there, but the man wasn't looking forward anymore. He was leaning slightly to the side, like he was trying to see around something, like he was trying to find me. The phone light flickered again in his hands. I backed away, grabbed my cell, and dialed 911. My voice cracked when I gave them my address. I told them there was a man in a car parked in front of my house. He hadn't gotten out. He hadn't done anything, but he had been there for over an hour. He was calling me, calling the landline. I didn't know how he had that number. The dispatcher asked if I could see him now. I moved back to the window, looked through the blinds. The car was still there, but the driver's side door was open, and the seat was empty. I don't scare easily. I've seen accidents, stayed alone in hostel rooms during storms, and walked through empty streets after midnight, but none of that ever made my blood run cold like what's been happening at my house recently. I think someone's been watching my home, and I'm not sure if they're watching or waiting. I'm currently an engineering student, studying in a different city from where I grew up. It's pretty normal for students in my field to live away from home. Colleges are far, and hostels are cheaper than commuting every day. I've gotten used to the routine, classes from Monday to Friday, the occasional lab on Saturday, and whenever I get the chance, I visit home for the weekend. Usually I take the night bus Friday evening and return on Sunday night. It gives me just enough time to recharge, eat home-cooked food, and pretend I've caught up on sleep. Now there's one thing you need to know about me. I'm a chronic night owl, always have been. While my parents sleep off by 10:30 or 11 p.m., I'm the one still awake at 2 or even 3 in the morning, lying in bed with my phone, scrolling endlessly, YouTube autoplay looping horror videos, or watching some documentary about unsolved mysteries. My parents hate that habit. They think it's messing up my brain, which, I'll admit, might not be too far from the truth. But I'm telling you this because one weekend, while I was home, something happened during those late night hours. Something I'm not sure I can explain. And the worst part is, it didn't just happen once. It started with a sound. The first time it happened, I was lying in bed, scrolling through Reddit threads about real-life paranormal encounters. It was around 2:20 a.m. The house was dead silent, that kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat, and suddenly I heard something. Not loud, just a faint shuffle, like feet brushing against gravel. It was coming from outside. Now my house is in a fairly isolated area. We don't live in a crowded neighborhood. In fact, there's an open field in front of our place where kids play during the day, but it's completely deserted at night. Our nearest neighbor is far enough that we can't hear them, and honestly, if I were a thief, I'd choose our house first. It's perfect for it. So naturally, when I heard the sound, I assumed it was a stray dog. It's common for animals to wander around the field at night. I didn't even look outside. I just pulled my blanket up and went back to scrolling. But that sound came again the next night, same time, same place, like a soft scratching, like someone dragging their foot near the window. I paused my video and muted everything. Waited. Nothing. No footsteps, no lights, just silence again. That weekend passed. I didn't think much of it, but then it kept happening. Every weekend I came home, like clockwork, sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. There would be movement outside, a soft shuffle, a low creak. Once I could have sworn I heard whispering, just for a second, like two people whispering rapidly, and then gone. And I did what I always do. I ignored it, because telling my parents, that wasn't an option. They'd blame it on my late-night habits and scold me for staying up. They wouldn't believe me, or worse, they'd think I was being dramatic. So I kept quiet, but it got worse. A few weekends later, I was watching a horror movie on my laptop, ironically, when it happened. I was deep into the film with my headphones on. Everything around me pitch black except for the light from the screen. Then I heard a noise and the door handle is turned. Slowly. Not just a random thud or animal noise. It was the unmistakable metallic click of the main door handle twisting. I froze. I paused the movie, pulled off my headphones. For a moment, everything was dead silent. I convinced myself it was just the wind. Or maybe I'd imagined it. Then it turned again, harder this time, like someone was trying to open the door. I got up, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I tiptoed toward the door and pressed my ear against the wood. That's when I heard breathing, heavy, slow, just standing there, on the other side of the door. My hands were trembling. I was too afraid to move. I didn't make a sound. And then, just like that, the breathing stopped and I heard slow footsteps walking away. And I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning I checked the lock, but it was still in place. But outside in the dirt just outside our front steps were bare footprints. They were human, they led up to the door, and then around the side of the house. We don't have a back entrance. There's no reason for anyone to go there. Still, I told no one, because when the sun is up and people are laughing and cooking and playing outside, it's easy to believe nothing happened. It's easy to think maybe you imagined it, that maybe the footsteps were from earlier, that the handle was just a trick of the wind, that the breathing was your own bouncing back. But the fear follows. Every time I visit home now, I dread the nights. I keep the lights off, I triple check the locks, and I lie there in silence, waiting for it to happen again. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But the fear, that's always there. There was one time I heard someone walk all the way around the house, not running, just slow, casual steps, like they were checking, scouting, measuring. There was even a knock once, just one knock, not frantic, not loud, just one soft knock at 3 a.m. What about the days I'm not home? This is the part that keeps me up most. Whoever it is, they only come on weekends. They only come when I'm home. So what about the other days? Do they check? Do they come up to the door and realize I'm not there and leave? Or do they go inside? I've started wondering if this is all in my head, that maybe I've been listening to too many horror stories and feeding my paranoia. But I can't forget what I heard, what I saw. That doorknob moved. That breathing was real. Those footprints were not mine. So if you're like me, if you stay up late scrolling, listening to horror podcasts, thinking your house is safe because the doors are locked and you're quiet, just remember, sometimes they're already outside and they're just waiting for you to come back. To be honest, I don't even know where to start with this. It's been 5 nights to be exact, and whatever's happening, it's not normal, not something you can brush off, not something you can explain away with dreams or tricks of the light. I'm not talking about hearing a creak or the house settling. I'm not talking about a front door or something scratching at a window. No, I mean someone or something has been standing outside my bedroom door, just inches away, breathing, moving, waiting. I've never been the type to sleep with my door open, ever, especially not after the sleep paralysis episodes I used to get. They were terrifying. Those nights where I'd wake up paralyzed, unable to move, and I'd see a man standing at the end of the hallway, just standing there. I always brushed it off as some kind of hallucination, a sleep paralysis demon, like people say. But lately I've been thinking maybe it wasn't just in my head. Maybe it was something else, and maybe it followed me. It started 5 nights ago. The first night, I was just lying in bed trying to fall asleep. It was late, maybe 1 a.m., and I heard something outside my room, a small shuffle like someone was standing just beyond the door. At first, I thought it was my grandma. She's known to wander the house sometimes, and I assumed she was just messing with me. But when I walked into her room, ready to call her out, she was dead asleep. Didn't even stir when I opened the door. Still, I gave her the benefit of the doubt and went back to bed. But I couldn't shake that feeling, like something was still standing out there and watching. The second night, the same thing happened. More shuffling outside my door. This time, I didn't hesitate. I woke my grandma up, half annoyed and half panicking, telling her jokes weren't funny and I needed sleep. I'm a senior, finals, graduation, all of it. But she looked at me like I was insane. She hadn't left her bed. She was angry that I woke her up, and I believed her. She's not a great actress. I went back to my room confused as hell, sat on my bed, and just listened. But nothing. No shuffling, no noise, just silence. But even that felt loud somehow. Tuesday night, night 3, was when things got worse. I didn't sleep at all that night. It started the same, soft shuffling. This time I decided not to say anything. I just laid there with my dog beside me, waiting. I figured I'd wait it out. But then I heard the footsteps, slow, deliberate, walking past my door, stopping near my dad's old room, then turning back. They stopped directly in front of my door. My dog, my sweet, fearless boy, perked up, ears straight. I expected him to bark or move toward the door, but instead he crawled backward behind me, shaking, whimpering. That's when I heard the sound, a slow, wet suction noise followed by a clicking sound, like someone sucking on the roof of their mouth and ending each motion with a sharp, deliberate pop. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic and purposeful, like calling something. And it didn't stop for hours. Not until I heard birds outside around 4 in the morning. Night 4 was quiet, at least compared to the rest. The same shuffling returned, but it was slower and more patient. It stayed from 11 p.m. to about 2 a.m., never trying anything, never making a sound beyond those soft, dragging footsteps. By then, I'd become numb to it. As long as it stayed behind the door, I could handle it. At least, that's what I thought. But last night changed everything. I went to bed expecting the usual. I left my lamp off, curled up with my dog, and tried not to think about it. Midnight passed. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., but nothing. For a brief moment, I thought maybe it was finally over. Maybe my mind had made it all up. Maybe I'd been so tired and stressed that I imagined it all. But then, it started, not slowly like before. It was different this time. It was urgent, angry. The shuffling came charging from the far end of the hallway with full speed and slammed its body against the crevice of my bedroom door. The impact shook the frame. I shot up in bed. My dog started barking wildly. Then came the breathing, not panting, not out-of-breath gasps. This was something else. It was deep, monotone, like someone taking long, intentional breaths right up against the wood. I didn't even think. I was frozen, heart hammering in my throat. But then one thought entered my mind that made everything worse. My grandma wasn't home. She was out for the night visiting family. That meant I was alone. And the doors, or was the front, the back, I had no idea if I'd locked them. Panic set in. Someone was in the house. I had 2 options. Wait and see if they opened the door, or get up and lock it. I chose the second. I leapt from bed, slammed the door shut, and clicked the lock into place. The breathing stopped. For a second, I thought it was over. I pressed my ear to the door, but silence. And then it started again. Louder this time, more aggressive. The door began yanking forward and backward, as if something was trying to pull it open and break through. The wooden frame cracked. My dog barked nonstop, but I was too scared to move. I grabbed my phone and called my grandma with trembling hand. At first, she thought I was joking, until she heard it. The door frame shaking. The loud guttural breathing, the angry dragging of fingers along the door. She turned serious immediately and told me to get out. She said she was calling the police and heading home, but I needed to leave the room. Now I wasn't going to wait. I grabbed my dog, pushed my screen window open and slipped out into the night. There's a pine tree just outside my room, and I squeezed myself behind it, holding my dog tight. I'm only 5 feet 2 inches, so I fit easily in the narrow space between the wall and the tree trunk. I stayed there completely still for 10 minutes until I heard the sirens. 2 cop cars pulled up first, my grandma shortly after. I didn't come out until she called my name. The officers escorted us inside. They swept the entire house, but no one was there. Every room, every closet, every inch of the place was empty. But my bedroom door? It was splintered, scarred. The wood around the lock visibly cracked from the outside. And here's the most terrifying part of all. Every single door in the house was still locked. Deadbolts, chain locks, knob locks. Every window sealed shut. There's no sign of forced entry, no open exits. And yet, something was inside. That night we didn't sleep there. I begged my grandma to get a hotel, and the cops agreed. We left immediately. I haven't been back since. But part of me knows, whatever it was that stood behind that door for 5 nights in a row, it'll still be there and waiting. And that's a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these chilling stories. If you did, don't forget to drop a comment with your favorite one, hit that like button, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales coming your way. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.